In the world of Alan, a great war between the continents of Evros and Elkesh is forcibly brought to an end by the Tempest, a cataclysmic storm that rages over the surrounding oceans. An uneasy peace has been solidified, but over the last 2 centuries a cold war has frozen the hearts of many. A group of adventurers calling themselves the Hydra have joined to thaw out the ice. Their mutual friend has been slain, and now their quest to solve an ages-old mystery truly begins. Blood is hotter than water in A Debt to a Friend, a homebrew campaign.
I can only apologise in advance for the rather poor quality of this session recap. I am going to try and do 2 in 1, which very rarely goes well, but at least now you know that it's not going to. Partly because one session was very combat heavy and one was RP heavy, and unfortunately I'm going to be focusing a lot on the combat one, and even then probably cutting out a lot of the information. The simple reason being that I have left it far too long to try and do the session recap separately, and there isn't really enough in either of them to justify doing one. Even though like the RP was incredibly good, even though the combat was incredible, there just isn't really enough for me to put into either session recap. And this is after doing the Lost Mine of Phandelver, where there were several sessions not even advancing a side quest. So take it as you will, but I do like the progress that we are making in Debt to a Friend, as well as the pace we do so. In session 15, I should have had a drink before I made that transition, but never mind. Thirsty. We arrived at the trade city of Friagate, in the most central, I guess, heart of the kingdom of Ostergarth, towards the east. And on our travels to the Royal College of Magics, we decided that we're going to spend a bit of money, or at least attempt to. We also tried to try and gain some money as well, by speaking to the goblin jeweler, who's appraising the rubies from the Sewer King's hideout, H.Y.D.R.A. So, H.Y.D.R.A, whose name I think was from the Jungle Book, with the serpent Car, with his hypnotic gaze. Basically buys the rubies from us for about 125 gold pieces, thereabouts. After some really good roleplay in terms of like persuasion and deals and things like that, and yeah, he's very much up to haggling, and yeah, we decide that if we come across any more jewels and whatnot, he'll be our first stop, and perhaps he'll give us a better deal in the future, especially if we know of his competition and the deals that they may make. So yeah, that's good. We also go to a blacksmith called Shiny Metal. I like to think that the name is spelt M-E-T-T-L-E, where we go to see the blacksmith Torrid Orcfoe, a dwarf paladin and Moradin. That's rules as written, that dwarves can only be paladins and Moradin, and they can only be proficient in smith's tools. That's all dwarves ever. There's no such thing as any other kind of dwarf, unless they have ale in the name, like Alebeard or Alehammer. Yeah, that's it. Actually, go back a few editions and that probably is true. like go back to like AD&D. Yeah. Anyway, enough of the dwarf racism. So we're going to go to Shiny Metal to try and buy some plate armor and such for Takafria. In the meantime, Cornelius is outside the ruins of the Friagate orphanage, and although he enters the building not seeing that many signs of entry, He doesn't feel fit to investigate much further on his own. There really isn't any need if there's been no signs of anyone else living there amongst the ruins. Perhaps Zukov, his old childhood friend, is there, but maybe not. But he doesn't stay for very long, and he spits on the ground and leaves that horrid place from his traumatic childhood behind. So there was a whole map for it and everything. I was like, it just blacked out. And it's like, oh, I really want to see what's ahead because I think that'd be so cool. But yeah, never mind. Oh well. But yeah, but no, I can't blame him for that. And I don't know if the DM did have something planned. I mean, it would have been quite interesting to just say, hey, look, there's nothing here. If you want to go here, great. You know, it's something that I prepared for. But hey, not every lead has to actually lead to anything. Sometimes traumatic childhood foster home is just a traumatic childhood foster home. But yeah, and yeah, sometimes it's good to have those moments where you just say, you know what, I'm not prepared to do this right now, and I walk away. So yeah, whatever the case may be, it was good. It was good. So anyway, before we get to the pet shop. Sorry, I'm a bit groggy. Nothing new there. We get to the blacksmiths. We go to Bertrand's Beastmaster Emporium with a variety of strange and exotic pets there. It's really not like your typical pet shop as such. I mean, it does have some typical pets, mostly birds and like small rodents and marsupials and such. And there is I think a ranger or a druid who speaks, of course, with a Greek-Smolian accent, which is my favourite, I think. And this wild shopkeeper goes, "What do you want? And what is your companion that you wish for?" Accessories. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna. In fact, that wasn't even a very good Greek-Smolian accent. What do you want? That was better. Not brilliant again, but still. I'll just probably play the Germans clip again.
The Germans?
Yeah, so he tries to use his usual sales spiel to try and sell things to adventurers, such as a grizzly bear, Klaus, who is an arsonist, strangely enough, a lobster who is good with guns but better with hands, but doesn't actually have any hands, and a fish that is just quite simply a fish. And so Ragnar asks for food and equipment for Nero. And there is a ring of animal communication available for 300 gold pieces. And I was willing to put some money towards this because this would be really cool, but in the meantime I have got another goodie to help with that. Basically what it does is it allows you to psychically communicate with one animal. And with attunement it does something else as well. And yeah, it would have been quite good, and it would save like Ragnar 10 minutes to cast Speak with Animals as a ritual. On the other hand, though, that's kind of removing one of his class features, but it's something he needs when he's got a pet companion, and he needs to communicate in the thick of battle and whatnot. So there is that side of it. So he's decided that he's going to reserve it for like 15 gold per month. So he hands over 30 gold and reserves it for 2 months. So should we come back to Friagate anytime soon, there is a good chance that we're going to buy that. And I think we may do that yet. And so after that, we decide that we're going to. We decide then we're going to go to the blacksmith, and not really much to say there. We don't really get what we want, and even though Cornelius really does try to persuade the shopkeeper to say, "Don't you know who I am? I'm part of Hydra. Have you heard of us?" No. And And then, like, the shopkeeper's like, is that a sea monster? And so Cornelius goes, well, I'll be telling my friends and family not to come here. And the shopkeeper, I do like Torrid. He's brilliant. He says, okay, mind where you go. Very politely. And unfortunately, the bookkeepers, who we learn are, if you've seen like Warhammer Fantasy, like the typical Imperial Guardsmen, but like those no Imperial Guardsmen, excuse me, the like men of the Empire.
Welcome to H.Y.D.R.A, gentlemen. I will not lie. The chances of your survival are small.
With like their big hats and flamboyant armor and such, with like those White-handers and such. Yeah, they're on patrol and ask, "Is there something I can help you here with, loud sir?" And so Cornelius realizes that perhaps it's not best to mess with these guys. I was actually tempted to say, thank you for partaking. Yes, well done, Chaplain Bonaparte, for helping me record the response time for the bookkeepers. This has been a test from the Commissariat just to see how quickly you respond to a crisis in a public disturbance. Very good, very good. Well done, thank you. And so I do some fast talk like that, and that would have been awesome. But I was too shy at the time. Don't know why. I think it's because we hadn't played for.
Excuse me.
My phone was ringing. That's probably going to get this video silenced to do, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, the point is, I better just check actually that wasn't someone I needed to speak to.
Dressed to the nines, and his hair was perfect. Hit me!
So we decide that we're going to leave, and we're going to then find lodgings in Friagate. And we do come across, I think, one of my favourite locations in the game so far, the Monastery of Eternal Light. And this, as it turns out, actually is a monastery repurposed as a tavern, the sign having two robed friars raising a toast. Originally, the tavern was made famous for its process of fermentation, the goods sold to fund the monastery, which is, I guess, like quite similar to previous monasteries in history, where mead was sold. Like monks would keep bees to make mead out of, and sell to those passing by to fund the monastery. So that was quite good. That. And of course the place is very well maintained. With brown monks robed people wandering with thick belts and pot bellies, and yeah, there's quite a few different characters about here. We see a male halfling with gold striped leather armor and dwarven fighters with hammers down, neck and gale. I did ask the DM, would this happen to be like Garveld Grimhammer and Emil Cragwalker? But they did say fighters, and I don't know if that was fighters with a capital F or not. And there's lots of people not from around these parts, because we are in quite a marketplace, so I imagine this is more like a touristy place. And yeah, we also meet H.Y.D.R.A. I'm making a note of all these names for NPCs so I can make them on Hero Forge and put them in the chat, because I do love making the NPC models. And H.Y.D.R.A. gives us a rather hearty welcome. Welcome to the Monastery of Eternal Light, where may you find enlightenment likely at the bottom of a glass. And yeah, very, I guess just like chipper. I like that. She was a good NPC. I liked her. So, and yeah, we order, and I made a note here as well. We buy food and drinks. Tax player's child joins in. I do enjoy when their infant has a few gurglings to contribute to our stuff. To be honest, they could probably do a better session recap right now, if I'm honest. So yeah, and oh yes, the characters as well do try Phoenix. We eat actual Phoenix meat, and Takavria as a bit of a prank buys some for Cornelius, who steps away from him, and it's very, very hot, as one might expect. I do actually ask, how flammable is rum? Just remind me. Cornelius has some glasses of rum to go with it. Ooh, dear. So, and yeah, so it is really nice. It's a shame I can't read all the stuff here. I'm just too tired right now. Too tired and snotty, I'm afraid. But there was some really good stuff about this, and one particular moment as well that I would like to have noted is where Cornelius talks about his time, one of his memories from the orphanage, where he says, "This reminds me of a time in the orphanage when we'd go to bed hungry, but on one occasion we snuck out because we knew where the priests took out the extra rations, and Omar ate this pepper, and I bet that's what I look like right now, and that's when Zukov the food's not agreeing with my stomach, I must retire," and he stifles a tear that doesn't come from the spice, and we just make small talk for the rest of the evening. I order a treacle tea, and I reserve a bottle of whiskey for Cornelius. And as Cornelius is lying in bed, he asks Malil, as he's lying in bed, that why am I tasked with finding Zukov? I mean, he doesn't even like me, but I want to do this for Omar, if nobody else. But I don't have time to do this, to perform a task that has us holding the fate of the world in our hands. Deep down I want to help him, but I also don't want to put in the effort. I'm going to strengthen the cycle doing this, the cycle I want to break. I need guidance, William. We rest up at long last, full of tasty food and drink, and in very comfortable beds. I stay in bed the morning after, cleaning up the weapons that we taken from the Goblin and Hobgoblin encounter to be sold later. So we may do that at some stage. Cornelius goes down having breakfast, and the others go as well. Before we leave, I have the very unfortunate opportunity to let the family know, the family of the slain acting family, Andreas, about his fate. Now, I was really hoping that I wouldn't have to roleplay this, because on the one hand, like, I'm glad I did, but at the same time, it wasn't easy. It wasn't good. And this is why I don't want to play Waterdeep Dragon Heist, because it's a campaign that I really want to do well. I need to be a better role player for. And this does get me out of my comfort zone. It does get me out of my shell, and it does get me to improve my roleplay technique. But it's not easy. If it was easy, would it be good? Probably not. Actually, it probably would be. But I had to tell a widow who didn't know she was a widow that her husband had been slain. And her children as well were didn't know either, and that was tough. I couldn't bring their husband back. I couldn't get him a good funeral, but I could get him a marker, or at least I could fund the family just to last a few years without his support. So I left them 200 gold pieces. And because I'm not normally one to take gold and such like that. I'm not really bothered about money in RPGs as such. Like, I know there's going to be loot. I know there's going to be stuff. That's meta knowledge and such. I mean, even then, the army gives me a wage, you know. So, but I think I'm going to have to start taking money when I'm out of the kingdom, because, like, here it's all well and good, you know. It's like I'm helping kingdom citizens. What am I going to do to maintain the peace and put some money away in my pension pot while I'm not actually doing stuff for the kingdom on their, you know, for my wages? So it's going to be tough, and that's a dilemma that we sort of address in session 16 in a way. So Cornelius tries to mount Rigsby, but brings him down into the mud. He just starts sinking and then just falls off. So we decide that we've spent enough time with sad RP, and we make our way to the Royal College of Magics as we exit the metropolitan side of the city, but find it still gorgeous. That there are maintained stone paths, trees lining the pavements, and we see the college looming in the distance, almost like a city in itself. Great spires and towers, statues built to venerate and celebrate great spellcasters from eons ago. Stained glass windows with frescoes showing heroes and events from the kingdoms past. Closer now, there's a heavier military presence, if dressed more ornately. There's a gate that leads across the bridge to the college itself, and we approach the gate. We just say that, like, we're here to read about the place's power without explicitly stating so. And so one of the guards says, "Academic, I say, visitors, well, just head through the reception area and they'll sort you out." And we continue on, having wished the guardsmen a good day, and see the different towers above, each with different styles as if to show different schools of magic. So that's quite interesting like that, because I can't remember what... There were some games that do it, like World of Warcraft with like the Necropolis sort of location for like the Death Knight style location. They had like the Blood, Unholy and Frost areas, so that was quite cool. I think maybe Divinity Ego Draconis did it, maybe. I think one of the Elder Scrolls games has maybe done that. I don't think it was, no. Like, I think Oblivion did something like that. I don't know if the Royal College, I don't know if the College of Winterhold did. But, it's a common theme and it's quite cool. Oh, Strixhaven does it as well, I think. Like, each of the colleges have, the schools of magic have that. So we approach the reception area, and this was I think this was the highlight of the session, where we met Lionel, a human wizard wearing red robes. He's not a cultist, with gold embroidery. He's not a red wizard of Thay that we know of, and he looks down the centre to us, and we think we're safe from spectral flails, and we ask about if he can tell us if there's a Professor Volmac here, without wanting to give away the fact that he's, missing. And so Lionel says, "One moment, please." And he rotates quite literally, picks up a book, and stands on his floating disc. I tell him that I admire his efficiency going through the pages, like in alphabetical order. It's like massive tome, like the Book of Grudges or something, and he's just flicking through it like page after page, and he's going like 1, 2. He's like very deliberate, and I tell him that I admire his efficiency. With a charisma check of 21, I haven't lose his concentration, and he's so distracted by this compliment, and he flicks to V, and he finds Volmac, and he says that Volmac doesn't appear to be here today. So we ask him about the subject of primordials, and so again he starts with A. Aardvarks, astronomy, archaeology. And he's going to do all the different subheaders as well. I'm thinking, Jesus, And I wanted to listen to him as long as I could just to see if the DM was actually going to run out of things to say. But unfortunately, one of our players was on the clock, and I was like, oh, I feel guilty for like having the DM say all this when like one of our players really needs to go. So that was fun. Anyway, so I just say, look, I'm something of a bureaucrat myself, and I was wondering if I could perhaps look through the book myself. I'll take great care of it. And so I do. And it takes a solid 30 seconds, and we find very little on the subject until we have someone bump against me, and I hear a voice speak telepathically. If you want information, meet me at the entrance of the library at sundown. I just ask again the receptionist's name, and it is Lionel. And viewers of about the midway to late parts of Lost Man of Phandelver might find that name quite familiar, which is appropriate given the title of this video that I originally had. It might still stick. So I shake his hand, and we go to the guest library with H.Y.D.R.A hearing, "That was the nicest conversation I've ever had," from the librarian. And I just put here a reminder for next session, speak to Damien at some stage. Funnily enough. So yes, that's where session 15 ends. So we're in the guest library, basically waiting to meet this person who's telepathically communicated with us. And so that's where session 15 ends. I'm going to go to session 16, but first, I need to check my voicemail, so I'll be right back. Well, that's going to be fun to deal with tomorrow. At the beginning of session 16, we long rest at the campus by reading, writing, and training Nero. I forgot to mention as well that while I was at the tavern, I made the Horn of Silent Alarm with the Artificer Fusion Replicate magic item. So Ragnar can basically call anyone, or anyone with the horn can call anyone within 600 feet with a silent horn blast that only the user can hear. So that only the receiver can hear. So that's good. So they'll be doing a bit of training. So we decide as well that we're going to find a magical supply store to sell the spellbook from the Sewer King's lair. In it was, I can't remember now, just bear with me because I think I've got... Yes, the book contains Firebolt, Mage Hand, Sleep, Charm, and Witch Bolt, so some pretty good spells there. And it's 250 gold pieces for the lot of them, so that's quite good. And the shopkeeper is a half-elf by the name of Ferris Brightstrom, who I think I'm gonna have some fun making that one in Hero Forge. We'll have to see. So yeah, he sells a few spell scrolls of cantrips and festival spells. Nothing that we'd really like, and I don't think we really want to spend any money on those kind of amounts. But we decided that we're gonna keep a hold of things. Maybe I bought some ramen from the students' supply bit, so that was good. And so we did that. And Cornelius reads his book of songs of prayers from Malil, from the Gregorius Glorious Goods. H.Y.D.R.A meditates while lightly snacking, and occasionally Lionel tests the patience of the students here, slowly answering a few basic questions. Meanwhile, I read about I read like a very basic book on the gods just to get an understanding of like Malil and the Raven Queen, and as well read the childhood fictional story of the forgotten mine of Fondolin, where there was of course the siege of Moorcake Castle, or rather a single room of Moorcake Castle, and a meal, cake cutters slaying of the Candy Floss dragon, Candy Fang. of the sherbet dragon, Candy Fang rather. So yeah, that was rather good. So yeah, just a bit of a reference to a campaign that no one else in the group played, besides our dungeon master. So that was good. So the sun begins to set on the Royal College of Magics, and indeed the rest of Ostergarth. And my passive perception, just slightly above Cornelius, tells me that a figure is walking directly towards us. And a half-elf raises their hood and tells me to follow her into a doorway, into a porch of sorts. And she knocks on the door 3 times, deliberately paced out, and a flurry of locks disengage and swing open, and Lionel greets us very slowly. The half-elf turns to him and said, I brought them to you as requested, librarian. Will there be anything else? And he says, no, that will be all. And she bows slightly and moves away. Lionel turning to us saying, please come in. We have much to discuss. As he beckons us into the library once more. I'm starting to think that Lionel was inspired by the Tranquil from Dragon Age Origins. I don't think our DM played that though. I don't think they could quite get into it, which I can't blame them for, to be honest. So anyway, the library now is quiet and eerie, but made more tranquil by Lionel's dulcet tones. And I ask about the cloak and dagger. What is with all this? And he says, because something has gone wrong. The head librarian, Avior Zeverim, has gone missing in the vault. The vault. I did ask a colleague and check on him, but I have not heard from them in a couple of days. I fear the worst. By the way, there are settings on YouTube to increase the playback speed if you hit that cog. And so, as we say this, Cornelius looks about, and everything's all the same, just slightly darker, and Lionel remains floating upon his hovering disc as he was before. My colleague, he only teleported home after some excitement in Drummer. Poor Damien, only back for a day. And that, I just silently, grip my fists. I'm like, how dare they harm Damien? And, I didn't realise, how much of a love interest he's sort of turning into for me. Because I thought, oh, he's just someone who I admire, and he's a friend. It's like, no, actually, maybe there are some feelings. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Katyusha's heart of coal will be warmed up in the fires of love. I don't know.
Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Just the two of us.
I save all my best stuff for my darling dearest, which granted isn't very good. Anyway, moving on. So it seems as though Damien has gone into this vault, as there have also been some disappearances of students. I worry these are connected, but I am afraid. Should I let the authorities know, they may take a hardline stance against magic users. The fear in the kingdom never went away. And so Cornelius asked, well, how does one become lost in a vault? It's surely just one big box, right? The archives have many a defensive sigil. Oh my god, I've just seen where the quote marks end. You're in for a bumpy ride here, gang. rather a nice, smooth, and incredibly long and dull ride. The archives have many a defensive sigil that is where only faculty members may study. It is not open to the public. Perhaps he has succumbed to something. I am worried this situation will get worse. Sooner or later, somebody will request use of the vault. If you help me and save my colleague, I will make it so. All of the knowledge in the Royal College of Magics will be made available to you. Rakanar looks at him and says, if you know your colleagues and others have gone missing, why haven't you helped? This is a delicate matter. Damien insisted he could look after himself, but the missing students, I was only able to figure out their disappearances by going through attendance records. As I said, if I took this to the authorities, it would probably end in suspicion and possibly violence against the remaining students. Excuse me, I'm boring myself for my own impression of Damien. And Rakanar rolls an insight of 4 to see if Damien's not a coward, and fails to see through him due to his lack of social skills and mannerisms. I tell him that so long as I am an Imperial Commissar on these grounds, I am the relevant authorities. I swear upon my oath no retribution shall come to the students. And I think I've actually got the way to turn that around and make sure that there is no retribution if we survive Session 17. I hope I've got the numbers right after all this. And so Lionel, not seeming very confident, just says, very well, follow me. And so Lionel floats over to what appears to be a set of doors that we previously couldn't get behind. And it's only 20 to 8. I don't work that hard. And so we ascend some stairs, and following a series of doors through offices and luxurious study rooms, he stops at one door, and behind it is a reception room. A plush red carpet with a leather sofa and books and tables strewn with popular zines. Lionel walks to a wall, reads a sigil, and the wall rotates. And behind it is a portal with a golden glow, and it maintains a steady glow. This is the portal to the Astral Library. Are you ready? And so we ask as well, okay, but how do we find Damien and this head librarian? Damien is marked by his proud, fully worn red crest uniform, which he has incorporated onto his wizarding garb. And the head librarian is much like me, old and dusty, flowing white hair and beard, as well as blue robes with symbology etched upon them. We enter the portal, and before us are 4 steps with a plush carpet before us. Now, as Rigsby gets here, he starts sniffing around, and he's not quite sure what exactly is setting him off, but something's not right about this place. Rakanar also sniffs around, and unfortunately he can't really smell the arcane that's setting off our robot companion. At the reception desk before us is a guest book with dates and arrival. The last date tree was a month ago. As if someone's been using a bookmark, there's a key wedged in the pages. And I get to the latest page, and I sign in as Commissar Katusha Lostcows. And so, oh boy, that's going to lead to some problems, I think, later down the line. It's like, I thought, this reminds me of Dishonored, where the main protagonist, an assassin, can just sign into the guest book of of the party is infiltrating. But I signed it anyway, and that's a choice I've now got to live with. And so, before us at this reception area is, behind the desk, is a door with the Royal College of Magic's emblazoned symbol emblazoned upon the metal barding. And beyond that, as we open it opens up fairly easily. We see a wall of light. Now, with an investigation check of 21, I can tell it's magical in nature, and I see that towards the right there is a mechanism that fits the key. So I place the key in, and it shuts down this wall of light, showing the library beyond another wall of light near the end. If anyone's ever played Spyro 2, the level of Horikos, with like you need the spark plugs, oh, it's not the spark plugs, is it? It's like the geodes, or whatever. The point is, you need the was it spark plugs? I can't remember. Point is that you need something to slot in there. Shuts it down, you can go through. So we go through, and there's just bookshelves and such, and one shelf I'm looking at is called Zombology 101. And when nobody's looking, I smell the books. Because they smell old, they smell new. I don't know, but they smell satisfying. Cornelius is trying to like see what I'm doing, but he doesn't see me doing that. But what he does notice is there are scuff marks on the floor, as if someone has tried to move the bookshelves. Now, unfortunately, Ragnar and Takavria try to move the bookshelves in this show of machoism. And unfortunately, they don't succeed. So what I do is say, oh, come on boys, let me have a go. You know, just to lift the spirits. Hoping that, you know, if I fail, you know, it's a bit of a laugh for them. Nope. I roll a natural 20. -1 for strength, because I've got an 8 strength, that's my weakest stat. And I pull the bookshelf aside. And it's flavoured as the boys had lifted the mechanisms loose, and you know it's really just someone moving it aside. So that's quite good. I think that's a really good explanation of the event, because it's like, you know, a natural 20 with an 8, you know, with 8 strength does not mean you can just lift the door, you know, and it's like you can't just tear it off and throw it at them. No, it just means that, like, it's a team effort, and I like that. That's good. So, although it would be cool to see a gnome throw a bookshelf, maybe one day, maybe that can be my use of the wish spell at the end of the campaign, if there is one going, just to screw things over. Just want to throw a bookshelf and hurl it across. I want to do what a meal crag walker did, just take the bed and just launch it across the room. That's my flavouring of things. I don't know why I have an obsession with that. I really don't. Just taking things and hurling them across the room. Probably a lot of, like, rage built up and such. I don't know. Moving swiftly on. Yes. So we get inside a room. Oh, it would help if I actually consulted my screenshots. Where are we? Yeah. So it's like a circular room with barrels and chests and crates, and in there are about 20 to 30 pieces of paper, good enough to pen spells into spells and into spell books and such for scribing, and lots of pots of ink, which would be really good if they were wizards. You know what? Even if like me, I work in admin and I love stationery. I'm obsessed with stationery, so this is just my dream. I just did a stationery order at work today as well, and like I was just in heaven when it arrived. So yeah, so this feels amazing to me. This is the kind of this is when my character's in their element, so that works. So yeah, so we decide not to take any because that would be stealing from the place that I am, I guess, like aligned to in terms of factions and such. So I decide not to take that. Going further on, we come across another storeroom. When my screenshots align, if I... Oh shit, I don't think I have it. Oh, you are joking. I didn't take any screenshots of that room. Oh no, but it was brilliant. Can't believe I didn't do that. Anyway, so yeah, so there's room with like that has like well, like wine casks at the bottom. It has chests, more crates full of stationery and such. Yeah, and there is also yeah. So in the chests,
Not this time.
where was I? So in this chest is a wand of magic missile with 4 charges, a potion of lightning resistance, and 20 platinum pieces. Now I decide to leave them because again that would be stealing. But Tax scoops up the items, sneezing to try and obscure his actions of, you know, stealing, and it's kind of obvious that he's doing it. So I decide to go to the other chest and try and pick it, and I managed to break through the arcane lock again, except inside this one is a ball of fire that's swelling and swelling and swelling. It's a fireball trap, and unfortunately Rigsby and I take 15 points of fire damage, with H.Y.D.R.A taking only 7. And we brush ourselves off from the magical explosion that we're hit by for our hubris, and there is a false bottom to the chest, revealing 500 gold pieces. I pour the contents out into my hand, but my tiny gnomish hands don't catch it all. And so H.Y.D.R.A throws in the 20 platinum pieces that he found in the original pouch and say, hey look, there's actually more than gold here. And believing him, he bags it up and takes it as insurance, you know, checking for mimics and all that kind of thing. So I decide that I can't take that money. It's stealing, and not to mention as well, like having read that big book of gods earlier, I believe that Gond, the god of craft, has decided that this is a lesson to me, that although craft can yield great rewards, it can also be punishing as well. It is not without its faults, and that not all greatly crafted chests are going to contain treasure. So I decided to leave. But just takes it. So fine, fair enough. So yeah, and anyways, it's good to have someone like I don't agree with that choice, but it's good to have someone in the party who will do those things, because like a character that I've like the first character I ever played in D&D, Mr. Bathelmat, was like they're gonna do the things that the party cannot do. Just bear with me one moment. Hi, Dungeon Master. Can't play tonight, I'm afraid. Recording the session recap. Speaking as I type this into the camera, omitted your name, XD. Anyway, yeah, so it's good to have someone in the party who's going to do the things that the party doesn't want to. It's alright being like moral absolutists and whatnot, but sometimes you need someone who's like gonna, you know, take the gold so that the party's not in total poverty. So this secret bookcase that we've got dealt with has been completely cleared out, and we decided that we're gonna move on after some insults are exchanged and whatnot between Brackenhar and Cornelius. We go into another secret area, same thing of the bookcases, and we find in there like a long corridor of just bookshelves and lecterns and places to just read casually, should someone want to. And across are some more doors, and ahead of them are bodies, skeletons draped over chairs, lecterns and desks, and towards the very back of the room is a white. I think it's a white. Was it Wraith? I can't remember. Was it white or a Wraith? I think it was a Wraith. And it's it was a spectral form, a stern schoolmaster going class in session, and so we roll initiative, and yeah, it's like they just blow it to smithereens before anyone can actually do it. I think it dies before it can actually do its first attacks, because as well, like Cornelius' use of dissonant whispers, which like causes enemies to run away in fear or like just float away in fear if it's floating on air or whatever. Like it's just really good as well. It's totally underrated. Like I have not given bards enough credit in my time playing D&D. Yeah, it's really good, and just triggering an attack of opportunity and such. I mean, there is more melting of enemies later on, but yeah, that was good. So yeah, it's like it just dies, absolutely dies. Although Cornelius does tell it to go back to whence it came, Lich. Now I know liches, and that's a compliment. That's a real compliment. I would love to play a warlock as a side note. I would love to play a warlock that's whose patron is Larlock. Larlock's a really cool warlock. Like he's my favorite. Like Vecna's way overrated because of Stranger Things. H.Y.D.R.A gets like so much attention, you know, because of Tomb of Horrors and Annihilation. Whatnot. Fine, fair enough, okay. But Larlock's the MVP. He's an adventurous Lich. Anyway. So, so the skeletons actually probably give us more grief than this Wraith person did, with like jagged stumps of arm striking through armour and flesh to hit us for some nasty little pieces of damage, but still, they will be noticeable when you take the big damage. It's like, I could have really done with those 3 extra hit points that skeleton took off. So yeah, he uses finger guns as well. I also found, like, because I've been playing MGS as well, I found a GIF of Revolver Ocelot saying "died" with finger guns, so that was good. So yeah, not much to report on that one, I'm afraid. It was a good combo, it was fun, but oh, sorry, I need to do the narration now for this. If you do decide to, though, please have a good time. So, moving on. I do apologise. I told you this was going to be a really bad session recap. It's all over the place today. The next one I would hope is going to be better, and I hope it's going to just beat that one. I should be caught up by that point because it's going to be so epic. Like it can't be bad. So, so Cornelius investigates the bodies, looting them after his, a holy man looting these bodies of the newly risen or oldly risen, I don't know. Point is, he takes the key that's relatively similar to the one that we found before, so this will open up the next wall of light towards the north. And Cornelius decide that as holy Cornelius and H.Y.D.R.A say that as holy men they're going to make prayers for the dead, and so they do.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
And we don't really find anything else on the bodies of significance. We do have a pass into the next room a while later, and we are assaulted by a series of books, and they try to. Oh, hang on a second. Oh yeah, somewhere around this time, Cornelius found a map, like in Hogwarts, with like the whole secret areas and such. What was it called? It was like the Marauders map, I think it was. And they found that the different secret areas and such. So they're trying to get these new places open while being attacked by these flying books. Now, I have the clever idea of just ducking under a table. Unfortunately, that doesn't really work, because this isn't a video game, you see, where the books can just fly over and glitch off and bounce off the table. No. The book came down and just just tapped me like that. So I was like, oh great, yeah. I mean, it's fair. I hated it, but it's fair. So we get the secret doors open, and there's actually a secret room within the secret room, because we thought, okay, there's a student common area and toilets ahead, and there was, however, another secret room, wherein we found. Where are my screenshots? I can't believe I didn't take them. But yeah, we find Damien in a room not unlike the ones that we were kept in as prisoners of the cultists, and Damien is bound, chained to a bed, and he's like got 3 levels of exhaustion. So, oh God, what few hells and high streams I can go through to protect him, I will. It's worth the payoff, I promise. Like, all this is worth it. So we find Damien, and he doesn't know how he got here, or why is he just like got hit in the back of the head of the book, if you can imagine such a thing, and actually, funnily enough, we can. So we just say that, look, you're here on your own, but like, I don't want you going to the exit. We want to clear this place out first, and then we'll rescue you. You don't know how funny that is yet. So we unchain him from his bed, and I heal him. I say, oh yeah, I'll use a 2nd level spell slot to heal an NPC. That's a good idea. And he's still exhausted, but he's doing fine. So he's been trying to investigate. He's here to find the he's trying to find the head librarian, but unfortunately he's not succeeded yet. So he believes that perhaps his head librarian is behind this. So I set an alarm spell for him, and I give him a +1 club to look after himself with. And so we take a various checks the other rooms as well, and find that they are covered in blood stains, and the bed sheets are covered in blood stains, and there are chains lining the bed knobs. If you'd like to submit your jokes, the comment section is right there. So, oh yeah, we also, when we see the lavatory in the student room, we think, oh god, it's going to be another OTOG. Yeah, another OTOG encounter. Which I think will be less scary than what we're about to come up against. Actually, no, it'd be more scary, because that thing we would succeed against, but we wouldn't have any energy to do what we're about to face off with. It is worth it. So we head west, avoiding the books again, to the head librarian's quarters, and Rigsby sniffs around the octagonal room, and before he can really get my attention to something that he finds, a voice speaks out, and it says, Nezarec hungers, I shall feed him, yes, oh, come forth, my bountiful sacrifices. And so the head librarian materializes next to a bookshelf, snaps his fingers as the suits of armor in his room next, like flanking the bed, in a room, like an octagonal room filled with bookshelves, desks and such. They move on their own volition. Now, combat logs here are really short. Like this is, like I'm gonna have to read this combat log because it's so funny. So the initiative rolls were really good as well. And I think that's partly what saved us from the true terror of this guy. So Cornelius and Rakanar rolled 21. A suit of armor rolls 20. Okay, Takavria rolls 18. The head librarian launches a fireball using a sorcery point to sculpt it to only harm us. We all take 11 points of damage, saving and resisting, except for Rigsby, who takes 23 points of damage. And yeah. So Rakanar swings his long sword at the sorcerer with 22, dealing 11 points of damage. Cornelius uses vicious mockery on the sorcerer. Go back to the 9 hells you came from, witch! And deals 6 psychic damage. I know night hacks. That's a compliment. I've got to stop doing that. Causing a disadvantage on its next attack roll. And he also casts Shield of Faith on Takavria and boosts his AC by +2. A surge of armor, a suit of armor lurches forward to strike tack, missing thanks to the blessing of Malil, bleeding the energy from the attack with musical notes wrapping around his body. Now Takavria uses his Hexblade's Curse Wizard and swings at the sorcerer, and somehow deals 26 damage total. I don't quite know how Hexblade's Curse works. I've tried reading it and I can't process it for some reason. It just goes in like that. Through my eyes. Just, never mind. So anyway, he just erases the guy from existence, calling upon radiant damage to cleave through the man. And he spluttered his last few words and incantations, but life leaves him looking and says, "Feed me to Nazareth, so that he may rise more powerful than before." And the suits of armor clatter and collapse. Now Takavria, seeing numerous suits of armor here, is unfortunately finding the problem that these are ceremonial pieces of armor belonging to the Royal College of Magic's Dramatics troupe or something like that. I imagine that might be a bit of a running joke up until he can afford plate armor. So yeah, this is like a thing in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion as well. Like you might come across some really good weapons and you find, oh, it's ceremonial quality, meaning that it has no damage and its durability is really low. It looks cool though, but doesn't actually do anything, so it's more for like collection purposes. Because there are like display cabinets and such, which is cool. Anyway, so Takavria searches the sorcerer and finds a wand of secrets, and he uses a use immediately to check the chest, but it twangs straight towards a bookshelf, and it opens up to reveal another room. And in the chest is a key, given to me again, and in the desk is some jokey notes about keeping notes in secret. So, in the room hidden by the armoire, it was an armoire, there's a desk with notes. The librarian was trying to use the glyph circle on the floor to rehabilitate a dragon, a blue dragon specifically. But unfortunately, the glyphs are extremely wrong, and if one were to use it, would cause massive psychic trauma. As we read through it, the writings get more incoherent, the librarian having purchased artifacts from strange merchants dressed in red robes. His musings get more and more chaotic. Nezarec hungers, feed Nezarec, hail Nezarec. Soon he will pierce the veils between realities. Soon he will feast. Rakanar and Cornelius argue about the wild man not being able to read and the bard being fat. So I was thinking of like sending Rigsby to just walk through it, but apparently like steel defenders are not immune to psychic damage, and they're not more vulnerable to fire. It's a really strange thing. Bit of a side note, like I really don't like this about D&D books going forward, like how they're trying to just say, oh, DMs, if you want something, just do it yourself. It's like, well, why am I paying for the book then? You know, why am I, if I'm having to homebrew everything, why am I paying you $25 or $30 or $40 for these books, you know? So yeah, I think that's gonna have to change throughout 1D. Anyway, yeah. We find a teleportation behind the final wall of light that we used the final key on, and just as we get there, I shout, "Shit, we forgot Damien!" So I book it after him. No pun intended, and yank him with me. And after all this, he did say, I'm quite fine to go on my own. I can get back to the portal just fine. And I take him to the wrong portal. Why? Because the right portal was to the south. We're going to the new one to the north. And you know what happens when you do that? You find yourself, after a flash of light, above the Royal College of Magics, on an island suspended by enchantments. And before us is the hulking blue form of none other than Nezarec. Sacrifices for Nezarec. Fears Nezarec. Hail Nezarec! And that is where session 16 ends. Thank you ever so much for your patience with me with this session recap. It has been an absolute joy to play these two sessions. The roleplay one in session 15 was incredible. Everyone had a really good time with that one, I think. And I think the reason why people were a bit quieter in session 16, leaving me to do things more, is simply because I don't think we're expecting to play. I think we're expecting the DM's other two groups to be playing on that week. But I think that was my fault for perhaps mentioning that. I'm not sure, or believing that to be the precedent. But we now know when our next sessions are, and again, looking forward to it. I think the group's going to be ready as well. Now that we know the date, I think people are going to be planning. So I'm going to try and come up with the group for an idea. It's not very practical, but I might be able to get a bargain out of this one. It will come at great personal sacrifice, though. You see, I think because of the role that I took in this session, I feel personally responsible for leading the party into this. So, if this all goes to hell, I think I'll have the Commissar walk up to the dragon and say, like, you are a most wise and majestic creature, but I also believe you have a sense of honour. If you will have me, body, mind and soul, you release my companions, because we will all die to you, sure, but do you want to suffer before you get your meal? Or you could have me, I'll work with you, you can have my knowledge, and then of no more use, you can eat me. But the others will go. I would like to think that Damien's got a few spell slots to get us to hell, to get everyone else the hell out of there. Yeah, a noble sacrifice perhaps. I haven't got a backup character, but I don't mind waiting a session. I don't think it'll be another month before we can play after this one because of scheduling conflicts. But yeah, we'll see. It's a scary time, and but if necessary, if all else fails, because I don't want all of the party members to die, I would like to think that perhaps I could do something. Because I'm not going to run away. I mean, there's nowhere to run to. Have you seen that map? There's no getting out of there. So, I think I might say, right, I don't want to, but it's what the Commissar would do. It's what my character would do. She would appeal to the DM to have her life taken to save the party, to save the rest of the world. And hopefully her death would distract the whatever guards of the Royal College of Magics, because they're now having to talk with the Commissaria now. And hopefully as well distract from the wizards. But she did say that so long as I am here, and I think that means alive, I am the relevant authorities, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. If we do survive, I've got some interesting questions to ask for the Royal College of Magic's guards. Like, yes, how did you let this dragon live here? You know, it's nothing to do with the wizards. Yeah, they didn't summon a dragon. How did you let this happen? You know. Yeah, this might even usher in a new age for the Royal College of Magics. Hopefully, one that will be better. But we'll see. But yeah, I've got to hope that like H.Y.D.R.A's use of Draconic is gonna see us through this. If it doesn't, like, I'm out of spell slots. I think Cornelius is okay. I think H.Y.D.R.A is good. I think everyone's like healthy or can be healed. But me, I think this is it for me. And as well, like I want to save Damien. It's interesting that I'm more interested in saving Damien. Like, we're so close to the gala and me to the queen, and like, but Damien, I ain't gonna choose Katusha over Damien. I will have her purposefully fail dex saves on breath weapon attacks just to leap in front of Damien and hopefully save him with my tiny gnomish form, which won't be of much use. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good session. I look forward to it. I think I'm just expecting the worst, probably because we're up against a dragon. Dragons in D&D are not like Skyrim. They do not come down to land if they don't have to. They are smart. They are terrifying. Even like the weakest ones are pretty damn scary. And we're level 6. Then again, in Lost Men of Phandelver, as written, like, players are meant to be facing off with Venomfang at level 3. Great. Great. No, I think this is to the death for either of us. We will see. We will see. It's gonna be good though. Like this is the thing. It's, if my character dies, I think I'm gonna be okay with it. Yeah, it'll be tough, but it will be good. It will be dramatic. I know. I'm fully confident in my DM that this is gonna be an awesome event. But I ain't really got much of a strategy. There's not much room to move. There's not much. That map does not leave much. Not much room to move. Not much. Like, if I just like marching up to it, shooting away, I can't turn back. That's like my thing. I can't walk back. I can't retreat. It's no, not really much in the way of cover. I don't know what strategy there is for this. So yeah, I hope that diplomacy works. So yeah, no pressure, H.Y.D.R.A's player, but it's all on you now. All of our characters' lives are on your in your hands. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. No, that's it for me. Thank you over for watching. It was terrifying, and like planning up to this, like I actually shed a few tears over thinking about like the dramatics of this. Like, what could this do to our characters, for good or ill? And yeah, whatever happens, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be fun. I really look forward to it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care. I do apologise for the quality of the video. Yeah, I'm just absolutely knackered. But I'm hoping that session recaps going forward, knowing how difficult they're going to be to do 2 in 1, are going to be like just back to normal of like doing 1 at a time. Roleplay heavy, combat heavy, whatever the case. It's better than doing 2 in 1 and doing neither well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Ta for now.